Madeline Soto was reported missing by her mother on the afternoon of Monday, February 26th. Her mother had reported her missing after she came to pick her up from school and was notified that Madeline had not attended school that day. Madeline's lifeless body was discovered on Friday, March 1st. Jen Soto, Madeline's mother, and Stephen Stearns, Jen's boyfriend, made statements to police following the start of the investigation into Madeline's disappearance. Jen Soto told news reporters that she last spoke with her daughter the night before her disappearance, but in police reports she stated to detectives that she seen Madeline Soto the morning of her disappearance. Stephen Stearns stated to police that he had dropped Madeline off about a half a mile from the school around 8:30 a.m. on Monday, February 26th. Police have uncovered video of Stephen Stearns throwing items into a dumpster behind their apartment building at around 7:35 a.m. The items included Madeline's backpack and her school-issued laptop. Video evidence obtained by police investigators also show that around 8:19 a.m., Stephen Stearns returned to the complex in his vehicle, in which Madeline was visibly present in the passenger seat of the car. Police officers believe that Madeline was already deceased by this point and propped up as if she were alive. On February 28th, Stephen Stearns was arrested and charged with sexual battery and possession of child sex abuse materials after his phone had been analyzed by a digital forensics unit. It had appeared that Stearns attempted to delete the evidence from his phone, and detectives were able to determine that those crimes were committed at the family home in Kissimmee. Stearns claimed to have accidentally factory reset his phone the day Madeline went missing. Stearns is officially charged with 8 counts of sexual battery on a child under 12, 5 counts of sexual battery with a child 12 to 18, 7 counts of lewd and lascivious molestation, 40 counts of unlawful possession of materials depicting sexual performances by a child, 10 or more images. Jen Soto has not been charged at this time, and Stearns has yet to be charged with any involvement in Madeline's death. Criminal cases can be boiled down to a simple word equation. What happened plus why did it happen usually equals who did it. You may not believe me when I say this, but it's true. Fill in the equation and you can get a clear answer if you look close enough at the details. FBI behavioral analysts often use this question to find serial killers and unknown criminals. If we take the facts of the case and break down the equation, it's safe to say we can somewhat find a possible motive and fill in the blanks of Madeline Soto's story. So let's give this a try. What happened based on the facts of the case? Madeline Soto's body was discovered on March 1st, 2024, after her belongings were thrown out by Stearns at 7:35 a.m. on February 26th, and video surveillance shows that Madeline was visibly seen in Stearns' vehicle, although police believe that by this time she was already dead. This video was recorded at 8:19 a.m. on February 26th. This means that Madeline was most likely dead sometime between February 25th and the early morning hours of February 26th. If this timeline is to be believed, then we can come to the conclusion that both Stearns and Jen were lying to authorities when Stearns stated that he dropped Madeline off at school and Jen stated that she seen her daughter on the morning of February 26th. The autopsy of Madeline Soto has yet to come out at this moment, so we do not know an exact estimated time of death or cause of death. What we do know, however, is that we have two people lying to authorities about the last time they seen Madeline alive, and one person who has removed a body from one location to another, has thrown away the deceased's belongings, and has also tried to delete evidence. We know that a young, healthy teenager is dead, and we also know that there are extremely suspicious circumstances surrounding her last known whereabouts. If you have a dead teenager in your home and you don't call police, but instead you remove and hide her body as well as throw away her belongings, you are most likely trying to cover up a crime. So what crimes could Stearns be covering up? Murder, manslaughter, contributing to the delinquency of a minor resulting in death, child abuse resulting in death, child neglect resulting in death. It is possible that Madeline's death was caused by natural occurrences, and Stearns attempted to conceal her death for fear of the explicit child images on his phone being revealed. However, I do not believe that this is the case. Based on the facts that we have, it is safe to say that we can fill in our equation now before we go on to our hypothetical equation. What happened? Why did it happen? Who did it? A deceased teenage female was removed from her home on the early morning hours of February 26, 2024. This happened to conceal a crime. Who did it? Stephen Stearns. Motive based on the hypothetical murder of Madeline Soto. At this moment, it has not been confirmed to the public that Madeline Soto was murdered. However, for the purposes of this video, I will assume that Madeline Soto was murdered and that her killer was most likely Stearns. We know that Stearns was molesting and sexually abusing Madeline for about 2 years based on the charges that have been released by the police officers. I believe that Madeline had enough of the actions and was herself most likely going to take action. Madeline messaged her friends and said that she wanted to go and live in the woods, which would indicate that she was not happy at home and would rather live on her own than live with her mother and her boyfriend. It's possible that on the night of February 25th, 2024, Stearns came into Madeline's room to do unspeakable things and was met with an angry, fed-up Madeline who refused his advances. At this time, it's possible that she told him that she was going to tell someone what was happening so she could be removed from the home. At this time, it is possible that Stearns responded with anger and physically beat or most likely strangled Madeline to death. After he realized what he had done, he most likely planned to take Madeline out of the home in the morning and remove her belongings from the home so that it would appear that she had left for school that day. It's possible that Jen knew what had happened, and that is why she lied to police, but it is also possible that Stearns told her to tell the police that she had seen Madeline that morning. It's possible that Jen went along with this lie, not knowing that Stearns had murdered her daughter and removed her body from the home. Who did it? It's safe to say at this point that Stearns is the main suspect in the concealment of Madeline's death, and her death was most likely not due to natural causes. But what involvement, if any, does Jen have in either of these crimes? Jen's news interview is bizarre, to say the least. She is obviously nervous and moving her leg often. She says we dropped her off close to the school and continues with she wanted to walk the rest of the way. After this, she has a moment to reflect on her situation when the bird starts to talk, but she smiles in the moment, then takes a deep breath as if she has to go back into the interview, which to me is absolutely strange. She goes on to repeat what she just said again. We dropped her off at school. Then she corrects herself. Close to the school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way. When told you can share whatever you'd like to share, we are just trying to get awareness out. You would assume at this point she would describe what her daughter looks like, what she was wearing, where she was last seen, but instead she shares what detectives have told her about where she was spotted on camera. After being asked what the last thing she spoke to her daughter about was, she seems surprised at the question and uses this time to explain that she talked to her the night before about her birthday party and that her partner was the one who took her to school, which seems strange, and the statement, "we dropped her off," no longer makes sense. She continues the interview by stating that other people have asked to volunteer searching for Madeline and what other people are doing in this search for Madeline, yet she doesn't mention anything she is doing to look for her own daughter. She even states that my family is going all out right now. Not even a we are going all out. She was asked, what about the places she could have gone? Have you checked there? And uses the statement, we checked, we looked, again, we. When asked what was she wearing, Jen replies, she was last seen. In conclusion, Jen seems nervous and concerned about the questions she will be asked. She listens to the questions diligently and answers what is only asked of her. She also uses the word we when we isn't necessary, but fails to use we when explaining the actions taken by volunteers and family to find Madeline. She seems to be sticking to a script. Imagine if your daughter went missing and you were desperately looking for her after she hadn't been home for 24 hours. You probably wouldn't be sticking to a script. Most likely, you would have a good picture of your daughter to show the cameras. You would be explaining where she was, what she was doing, what she looks like, and how she was dressed. You would be begging for her to come home. You would be begging for help. You would be communicating what search parties are out there, how to join, what police stations to call. Most likely, you would be almost too devastated to even talk. I think it's possible that Jen is a very codependent person. So if Stearns asks her to do something, she most likely will do it. I don't think this necessarily means that she is covering up her daughter's death, but what this does mean is that Stearns most likely told her to tell police that she's seen her daughter on the morning of February 26th. It also means that if Stearns does something, that it is not necessarily a lie if she does or doesn't say we. Most likely, Stearns helped with the initial search for Madeline, which is why when she says we looked, we searched, we checked everywhere, that statement is probably true. But when she leaves out the we, when talking about volunteers looking for Madeline, it's not necessarily absurd to think that she isn't out looking too, because most likely Stearns isn't out looking, so she isn't out looking. It's possible that she communicated to Stearns that she was nervous about the interview, and he told her just listen to the questions and answer what they ask. It is possible that Madeline told her mother about the sexual abuse and she didn't listen to or believe Madeline. And now that her daughter has gone missing, it is possible that she feels guilty not sharing with police what her daughter had told her. Maybe she is so nervous because at this point she thinks it's possible that Stearns had something to do with Madeline's disappearance. It's hard to explain how she lacks so much emotion, but at the time of this interview, Madeline was missing for 24 hours, and Stearns had not been charged with sexual abuse allegations. Maybe Madeline told her mom what was happening, and her mom didn't believe her. Maybe Jen believed that her daughter went off on her own because she was upset that Jen did not believe her. If you are a codependent person and the person you are with is accused of doing something and you don't believe the allegations, you are most likely not going to tell people about the allegations until you are mentally separated from the codependent relationship. Stephen Stearns is the worst kind of human. He had motive to kill Madeline, and his moral compass is obviously extremely broken. However, I don't believe Jen is involved in any way, except for the fact that she lied to police and probably didn't believe or protect her daughter when her daughter came forth with allegations against Stern.